Hello guys, welcome to a new Planet Coaster series. It has been nearly a year since I've uploaded my previous Planet Coaster videos, but I'm finally starting a park in the full version of the game. The videos in this series are going to be 10 to 15 minutes and consist of a time lapse and a live commentary part. In this first episode I am building the entrance building of the park. This is the building where you basically show your tickets and get into the park. At first I had some problems with the pathing system. It's really nice that you can select grids and stuff, but if you make a size 8 grid you can't easily connect a size 4 grid to it. The biggest problem is that the new pathway is cutting parts out of the paths which are already in place, and that's not something you want all the time. It took me some time to get the paths in the right place, as I wanted to have straight corners at the bottom part. The pathing system kept cutting the edges and gave me these angled edges instead. It took me too much time to get straight edges, so in the end I was like, screw this, and I keep the angled paths instead. I think this is actually quite an improvement, because I am forced to place a building under an angle over here, which adds more dynamic to the whole building. I wanted the area to look bright, so I needed to use walls which are a bit lighter of color. This is the reason I'm using these plaster walls. The whole entrance area is going to use the color, so it will look like it's one big piece. So what I was trying to do here was make a fence, but I couldn't really find the right top of the fence, so it took me a while to figure that out. The object I used at first was the same pole as I used for the vertical pieces, but it wasn't symmetrical, so I decided to look for something else. Eventually I found these white wooden beams, and those beams I used to fit the top of the fence. I used a 4-meter beam at first, but this one was slightly too long, which caused it to stick out at one of both ends of the walls of the arches. To avoid this I used 2 beams, which are 2 meters in length, and make them overlap a little bit. And I used the advanced movement tool to keep them in the right place, at the right height I mean, sorry. If you normally move it, it will go up, as you can see in a bit, like this. That went a little fast, and it will go up again, but I wanted to have them all at the same height. That's why I used the advanced moving tool at that point. I moved it aside so I can use it later if I ever think I would need it again. And what I'm doing here is trying to make like a planter in front of the house, but I did not know what to use at the top of the planter either, so in the end I just used the same item but a darker color of the item. So it's like a plaster wall, limestone wall. I think it's plaster I used, with a wooden finish around the top. And I'm just filling it with some plants and bushes to give it some color. And because I know I was going to place a small tree in there, I already placed the windows beforehand. And there's the tree and some more bushes. And at this point I didn't realize I did not tick the align to surface box, so I was having this effort with with the climbing plants showing up on the wall. But yeah, it worked eventually. So here I'm building a small tower. It's not necessarily a clock tower. However, I did consider making it into a clock tower. But it will just simply be a small tower which is attached to the main building. And I was looking for a roof, and the roof I selected before was a nice color, but it did not have one tile roofs, like the tips of the roofs. If you know what I mean. It sounds kind of stupid. Oh. Here I'm adding a balcony railing to this building. Will be a small balcony, but it gives some more dynamic to the building itself. So trying to place a door and a window, and then the balcony's kind of finished. So as I said, I wanted to have roofs like these with the two angles, like the tip of the roof. But with these wooden tiles, there's like a gap in between the different roofs. So I decided to find something else, and this roof is the only one that really fits my needs. So that's why I went with this roof. But you can only have this roof in one color, so you can't recolor these. That's the only downside. So the whole starting area I will be making will probably have these roofs, maybe a few others, but mostly will be these orange yellow tile roofs. And the color is really hard to try and replicate with other roofs, so even if I tried different textures, it's really hard to have it match. Adding some extra details to the roof, like the overhanging bits and stuff. It just gives the roof more dynamic, a more dynamic feel. It just looks a lot better if you finish up the roof like that. The only downside I had was sometimes your grid is like 10 centimeters off, and you saw it before, but you have to exit the edit building mode and then re-enter it to fix it, and that's slightly annoying at times, and you'll come across it pretty often in my upcoming few videos, because I've recorded some ahead. And if you're wondering why is he exiting the edit mode and re-entering immediately after, that's the reason. So this is where I considered making the tower into a clock tower, but I didn't, so I placed the two small clocks instead, one at each gate of the entrance, so you can see the time when you are entering the park. And here I'm trying to make a planter right after the entrance, and at first I wanted to make two, so I had a small pathway in between where I can fit some benches or stuff for people to sit. But it didn't really work out the way I wanted to, so I made one large one instead. I'll just cut this bit, skip right ahead to the large one. So here I'm making the large planter. To make sure the objects are grouped together, I place a piece of flat roof under the ground. This way the game will think the whole thing is one building. I really hate the lack of fences in this game. There's like 2 or 3 fences for railings, and all the walls are too fat. They're like 20 centimeters thick, and that's a little bit too much for a simple planter. So I decided to use these wooden poles to construct my own planter fence, or however you call it. And it actually ended up looking quite good, to be fair. And I wanted to have this big tree in the middle and some larger bushes, and it doesn't necessarily have to be colorful, but more like some centerpiece, and not a statue or something, but just a nice tree, and it looks pretty good. So I'm placing some bins around and some benches for people to sit on, and decided to add a few lanterns. I tried to make my own lantern, but I couldn't really find the items I wanted to use, so I decided to just go with this one. This is where I called it a day for this episode, so it's time to switch over to a little bit of live commentary. Hey guys, so in this episode you were able to see how I built the main layout of the entrance. As you can see, the building itself was quite nice, though it's still a little bland. I left a lot of walls open because I'm planning to add more buildings right next to this one, so the walls will be covered up anyways. I really like how this small planter turned out. It looks really colorful and it adds more greenery to the whole, because if you place it full of buildings you don't have much room to add trees and stuff, unless you make small plant pots or something. So let's go to the back. This is still very empty as well, like this bit and this bit, but the same goes here. I'm planning to add a few more buildings like so, and that way this wall will be covered up anyways, so if I place any windows over here it will be wasted anyway. I really like how this planter turned out, the big one. The walls, the fences or whatever you call it, look really good. I really like the wood. So the benches I placed underneath the tree, so you can have some shade in the sun. Here there's a few benches in the sun, so you can sit in the sun, you know? Yeah, well, overall it's still kind of empty-ish, but I'm leaving this episode at where I am, and I will be adding more details to this building in the next episode. I will probably add a few buildings on the front, like in this area and this area, so the entrance feels more like you're really stepping inside a village instead of just walking up to this one building. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Peace out.